This video will cover proportions with triangles and parallel lines. So the triangle proportionality theorem states if a line parallel to one side of a triangle intersects the other two sides, then it divides the two sides proportionally. So in my figure, if I know that QS is parallel to TU, then I know that the segments of the other two sides are proportional. So QT over SU would have to equal TR over UR. The converse is also true. If a line divides two sides of a triangle proportionally, then that line is parallel to the third side. So this time I'm starting with my proportions. If QT over SU is equal to TR over UR, then I know that the lines have to be parallel. QS is parallel to TU. So for example 1, I'm going to use this theorem to figure out the length of QU. So if I think of this parallel line as a giant fraction bar, I can use it to set up my proportion. 10 over QU is going to equal 12 over 6. And I can reduce that before I cross multiply. And then when I cross multiply, I get 2 times QU is equal to 10 times 1, or 10. And so divided by 2, I find that QU is equal to 5. In example 2, we want to find out why BD is not parallel to AE. In other words, I can show that it's not. So if they are proportional, then I know my lines are parallel. If they're not proportional, my lines can't be parallel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare 27 over 23 to 19 over 31. So is 27 over 23, does that equal 19 over 31? Well, we can always use our cross products to double check. So 19 times 23, will that equal 27 times 31? So 19 times 23 is 437, and 27 times 31 is 837. So quite clearly those are not equal to each other. So therefore BD cannot be parallel to AE. Because it doesn't cut the sides proportionally. So here are a couple problems for you to try on your own. Go ahead and find KL and figure out whether QT is parallel to RS. And after you have figured them out, you can restart the video. So please pause the video now. Okay, so for example A, you would have set it up 18 over 24 equals x over 44, and when you solved it, you should have gotten x equals 33. And for example B, you would have set it up 18 over 36, and then asked yourself, is it equal to 38 over 80? And when you cross multiply, it's not equal, so therefore the lines are not parallel. If 3 or more parallel lines intersect two transversals, then they divide the transversals proportionally. So what that means is that UW to VX will equal WI over XC, and that would equal YA over ZB, and in fact you can also take bigger chunks of it. It's still going to be the same proportion, so it's also going to equal WA over XB, or UA over VB for that matter. It always divides it proportionally. So if we look at example 3, we're going to find the distance CA, so this distance here, between the north border and the south border. Well, I already have a distance of 2,000 right there, and I know because of my parallel lines, I'm going to have the same proportion on the other side. So 2,000 over CA is going to equal the 2,500 over the whole thing, which when I add 2,500 and 3,000, I get 5,500. And then I can solve that proportion to find out the length of CA. So I cross out my zeros, and then I'll divide them both by 5. So 5 goes into that 5 times and into that 11 times. Now when I cross multiply, I get that 5 times CA is equal to 22,000. Divide by 5, and CA is 4,400. If a ray bisects an angle of a triangle, then it divides the opposite side into segments whose lengths are proportional to the lengths of the other two sides. So this ray is bisecting the angle, so these two pieces, AD and DB, are going to be proportional to AC and BC. So for example, if AC was 15 and AD was 3 and DB was 2, I could find the length of BC just using a proportion. So 15 over x would equal 3 over 2. And then when I cross multiply, 3x would equal 30, and so x would equal 10. In example 4, we have another angle bisector. I can see that these angles have been marked congruent, so I know that EG is a bisector. Well, that means that DE over EF is going to equal DG over GF. Well, the only problem is they haven't given me an expression for GF. They told me that the whole thing was 14. So what I can do is I know that this part right here has to be 14 minus x. And so that's the expression I'm going to use in my proportion. So 8 over 12 is going to equal x over 14 minus x. And I can reduce my fraction before I multiply. That reduces to 2/3. So 3x is going to equal 2 times 14 minus x. So if I distribute my 2, I get 28 minus 2x. And then we add 2x to both sides. And so 5x would equal 28. And so if we divide both sides by 5, we find that x is equal to 5.6. So here are a couple of problems for you to try on your own. Try and figure both of them out, and then after you've done them, restart the video. So pause the video now. So for example A, you would have set it up 24 over 27 equals 32 over x, and you should get x equals 36. You also could have set it up 24 over 32 equals 27 over x. It works that way too, because remember we can have our proportions sideways. But either way, you should have gotten that x was equal to 36. And for B, we should have gotten that the missing side, AC, or AD rather, was 8 over 3, or 2 2/3. And that concludes the video. Thank you.